Hello, Manya, are you there? Okay, all right, no issues. So, good evening to everyone. Welcome to today's session, and a very warm welcome from me and on behalf of the whole IP Press team. So, today we are going to discuss about the basics of legal blogging, and I'm also be going to share a few tips and tricks with which you enhance the impact of your blogs as well as draft your blogs better. Okay, so before we begin with the formal session, I have a story to share with everyone. So, when I considered blogging, I was in my second year and I was like, my primary motivation for starting a blog or rather writing a blog was to fill an otherwise blank CV because, I used to look at my CV and I thought there's not much to disclose here. I mean, I haven't done a lot of internships, and I haven't either published a lot of research papers or something like that. So I thought, why not start blogging? Okay, so the primary motivation was to fill up a CV. So what happened was that the CV that was empty, no recruiter would be, hiring me for their work. And why would they? If I have no knowledge in a field, why would they hire me? Right? Or why would they give me an internship? Or why would they, give me an opportunity? So what happened is that I started thinking of writing a research paper. But then what happened is research papers require a lot of time, and the properly written research papers, people work for years and years and years on that. So that's not what I seriously considered. Okay, now about articles. Were also kind of, you need to have a lot of knowledge about a field to write an article. So that's why I considered blogging. But as I regularly started to blog, first I used to write on a variety of topics. I used to write on human rights, I used to write on constitution. I did a few blogs that way. But then I started to realize that the purpose of writing a blog wasn't just limited to me filling my CV. It also gave me the opportunity to network with a lot of people. And these people were already those people who were established in that field, or some of them were just like me who, just had started writing on something. So research papers and articles seem a bit overwhelming. So that's why for all of us, blogging is the step in that direction to to gain knowledge about a subject, to gain knowledge in a field, and to basically express yourself. Okay, so I will be loading up my PowerPoint presentation. Please let me know if you can see it. Is the presentation visible? Anyone? Hello. Okay. Okay, then I guess I'll just have to share my screen. Why share my screen?
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, is my PPT still
Hello, sir.
not visible?
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Is my
No,
PPT
no,
not?
no, it is not
Wait,
visible.
I think it's the same error. I'll just reconnect my.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, it is visible now.
Okay. All right. So let's just dive into today's webinar. And today, like I told you, we are going to discuss everything about legal blogging, and I will share the kind of nuances that you could keep in mind while writing your next blog. So, straight away to the contents. What are we going to discuss today? So, first of all, I'm going to discuss what is blogging, and I'm going to shed light on specifically legal blogging, which is the subject of today's webinar. On the next section, I will be discussing the importance of blogging, basically why blogging is for you and why you should do it. The next section is going to be about blogs versus articles versus research papers, in which I am going to differentiate between these three types of writing pieces that you can undertake. Right? It is important to know the difference so you know where you are putting your head into. And in the last section, I will be discussing my own approach towards blogging, in which is divided into three parts, in which I will discuss the essentials first of all, then the tips and tricks as I promised to everyone, and the third is the points to avoid while writing your blog. So first of all, what is blogging? See, this question comes up a lot of times uh, in my head also, that why, what am I doing and what exactly it is. So blogging can be defined as the art of writing a blog, right? So a blog is a writing piece primarily used for connecting with like-minded individuals and which may have a deeper motive, such as marketing. Right, so take for example a traveling blog. Right, so a traveling blog would, it would consist of like, and the end it would be a sponsored post, or it would be like, it would promote something else. So that is what the purpose of a blog is, which may have a deeper motive. Some people also have a personal motive. I mean, some travelers also have, they have a flair for writing. So what they do is they pen down their thoughts on a blog, so that is how they have a personal motive attached to a blog. So that is all that we need to understand about a blog. Now, the next thing that determines if a writing piece is a blog or not is that a blog is written in a more informal and easygoing language. By an informal and easygoing language, I mean that you could talk in the first person, and you could literally take examples from movies, from books. You could include quotes, all of that, which is kind of not suited for a formal article or a research paper. And if you do that, it's frowned upon in articles and research papers. But for blogs, it's your thing. It's a part of you. You could do anything that you want to it, right? So that is about blogging. Now I will come to blogging specifically in the legal field and why it is different from blogging in all the other fields. So legal blogs substantially differ from other type of blogs. Okay, so like I said, blog in other fields can contain opinions, they can contain their personal experiences, they can contain anything, because you are independent and you have the right to speech and expression, so you can put anything down on the internet. But that is not somewhat true for legal blogs. Okay, because in legal blogs, let's say for example, ideally you should not contain a very strong opinion or an advice, because even as law students, we are taught that we need to minimize our liability, because as lawyers we have a great responsibility to each and everyone, and especially to citizens that belong to the non-legal field. So what happens is, if you write a legal blog and if you are established lawyer, or if you are a well-known name in the industry, what people can do is they can take that as an advice, and that may land you into trouble, which is not what we want from our piece, right? So that is why legal blogs differ from normal blogs. Also, legal blogs are more they have a purpose of more to disseminate information, right? So whenever, what do we write blogs on? The latest trending cases, I mean, if I go up and write a piece on the latest case of DHFL, which is pending before the NCLAT, NCLT. So if I write something on that, so that is, very trendy, and it is written on a trendy topic, and it is used to basically disseminate information. I'm telling the reader about something after analyzing it, so that they don't have to go through the whole order that the court made, right? So that is one thing. Also, another purpose of a legal blog could be to build a reputation in the field. You know, if, say, for example, you are, I read a lot of blogs, like I can name one blog which is Mondac. It is basically a blog article. It contains both of them. Mondac.com, that is the website. So in that, all of these, I read articles and blogs of few people, that are, they keep on writing these blogs, and I find them very insightful. Okay, which led me to, connect with them on internet, on LinkedIn, or on any other source that they have provided. It led me to connect to them, and I got to know more about them. I got to know more about their work that way, just through one piece. And since I liked their work, I went back to them. So that is how you build a reputation in the field, using a blog. So this is it.
Uh, Surbhit, sorry to interrupt. Actually,
Yeah,
your presentation is not visible again.
my presentation is not visible. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it visible all through this while?
No, it was visible.
It
Not visible.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, it is.
Just tell me if it's visible again. It is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, just tell me when it goes offline. I don't know what's the issue. Okay, all right. Okay, so now that we have discussed blogging and specifically legal blogging, I would move on to the importance of blogging. So many, all of you are here basically to know if blogging is my thing, if I should do it, and what are the benefits of it. So this is what I'm going to discuss in this section. So in this section, I have divided the importance and benefits of blogging for three different categories of viewers that might be in today's session, which is law students, first of all, and second are independent advocates and managerial personnel of law firms if they are here, and especially and also working professionals who are working in the let's say, who are working in a law firm, or anywhere who are connected to the legal field in any way, in a professional capacity. So first of all, I'm going to be discussing the importance of blogging for students. Now, I'm sure that most of the audience here must comprise of students, and you should definitely consider blogging because of the number of benefits that it has. You know, so I'll straight away jump into the first one, which is develop your writing skills. This one should be a no-brainer. I mean, a blog is something that you are supposed to update periodically. So you should write a blog ideally in every week, if that's what you can manage. If not, then you should, aim to be as regular as you can with a blog. So when you aim to be regular with a blog, it develops your writing skills, because you have to pen down your blogs every on a regular basis, and that builds up the skill of writing. So when I compare my blogs that I wrote 1 year ago to the ones that I write now, there is a huge difference. And that difference is, I mean, I'm kind of impressed by myself when I notice that difference, because at first you have no clue, there is no flow, you are just going about blah blah blah, whatever you feel like. But when you start writing again and again and again, it gets you a proper structure, that straight away comes into your mind, and it sets inside of you. So that also creeps into all your college assignments, all your competitions that you may take, research papers that you're looking to publish, any writing essay competitions that you want, that you will take. So in that, that the benefit of developing your writing skills also creeps up into all of those areas. So it builds up a comprehensive skill without you having to put in a lot of effort when you compare it to like a research paper. Okay, next, it develops your analytical skill. So, in order to write a blog, as I discussed before, blogging is something which is written in a more informal and easygoing language. So, they say that if you can't explain something easily to someone in an easy manner to someone, that means you don't know it yourself. I'm sure almost all of you would have heard about this saying, right? So when you write a blog, you have to collect information from various sources, from a lot of sources. You have to collect uh, information from newspapers, from articles, from other blogs that people have written. So when you combine all of that information, you then have to string it together. And when you string it together, that is when your blog comes to life. So that all of that, processing all that information, bringing it together, combining it, and making sense out of it, that develops your analytical skills. Next, it helps you find your style of expression. No, now if I tell you from my like personally, what how I like to write blogs is I like to be very informal. I like to be as informal as I can to in order to connect with the reader. I basically aim to write my blogs in a manner that I'm speaking, I'm talking, I'm having a conversation with my reader. So that is what I aim for when I'm writing a blog. You may be different, since all of us are different. You may have a different style of expression. You may want to be a little bit more formal, or you may be like me, you also want to be informal. So that is something. So when it helps you find your style of expression, that is not just limited to your blogs. It then creeps in onto other aspects of your life as well. So it's not wrong to say that this little thing that you're doing in life called blogging could have a huge impact on how you connect with people, how you express your emotions, and all of that stuff. So it goes along. And the last and the most generic one is that it enhances your knowledge. This one is also a no-brainer. If you collect information from a lot of sources, from a lot of things, it basically enhances your knowledge. All the other blogs that people are writing, everyone has a different style of expression. Everyone has different uh, sources. Everyone has different interpretation of things. So when you read all of that stuff, you get really knowledgeable because you get knowledge from various aspects, not just what one person has written, but from what many people have written. So that provides a comprehensive overview of the matter you are trying to blog about. Okay, so that is it for students. There's also one more left, but which applies to all of them, so I'm going to discuss it at the end. Next one. This one is for independent advocates and law firms. So the first thing that a blog page does is it acts as an engagement page. Now, I am a law student, and whenever I have to write a blog and whenever I have to, take information for a college assignment, I just quickly do a Google search and I read all of the blogs that people have written. And I would like to go more. I would like to check out the blogs that different law firms and reputed advocates have put up, because there is a trust, and you can also rely on them, right? You can rely on their facts, and you can rely on the information that they have put out. So that is one thing. So as a law firm or as an advocate on whose blog page people are visiting, it basically acts as an engagement page. You know how people are engaging with your page. Are they visiting your page? Are they How much time they are spending on your page? And that could help you find potential clients. That is one thing. If not potential clients, there's also one more category that you could uh, possibly get from it, and that I'll also discuss. Next, marketing without flouting rules. So this is a very well known, I mean, this is a basic rule of the law of the land, that you can't, as a law firm or as an advocate, you can't solicit your business, or you can't advertise your business, right? If you advertise, that is flouting the rules, that is flouting the law of the land. So how exactly can you connect with people without flouting the rules? The answer is blogging. If you blog, what happens is, like I said, it builds up an engagement. So when people come up to your page, when people come up to your page, they read it. You could also put in a few marketing process for a few marketing messages on the page or in between the text. That is possible, right? So that helps you find potential clients that would come to you, that would interact with you, and you could basically get business out of it. So basically what the purpose of marketing is. And you are marketing your personality as an advocate, or your identity as a law firm. You are advertising it, but you are not flouting any rule. So gotcha. Next, that is, tap into unexplored talent. So what happens is that whenever, let's say, an advocate or a law firm is looking for it is looking for people to join them, right? It is looking for people to get a job there with them or work under them. So what happens is, people from all over the world, or all over India, anywhere, they would send in your CVs. All the interested candidates would send in their CVs, right? So what happens is that if you as a candidate has a blog, then what happens is that it becomes easier for the advocate or the law firm to see what that person has written. It is something that is extra, that is apart, that is extra from your achievements, that is extra from all of the things that you have done in college or in your job. Blogging is something that is additional to all of it, right? So whenever a company, if a company would go and look up at your blog, it could potentially explore unexplored talent. I mean, you as a candidate would be unknown in the field, but all of a sudden, because your blogs are gaining traction, you are getting noticed. So this one is for both. It is twofold. So it is an advantage for advocates and law firms as well, as they get to tap into unexplored talent, and it is beneficial for the people who are blogging, for the candidates as well who are blogging. Okay. So the next we go on to the working professionals. Now, for working professionals, what the basic purpose of blogging could be is to self-brand themselves, to get known. So the first is to build a personal brand. When you build a personal brand, you get to be known from people in all walks of life. If you like, let's say you have an online blog, or you write regularly for a newspaper, people know you, and slowly and slowly people start respecting your opinion. People start respecting as to how you write, how you give information to them. All of that happens, which is very important, because that helps you in your career, because it gets you noticed among your peers, by your superiors, and it also gets you noticed by your juniors, which is also a very important thing. So that is how you build a personal brand using blogging. Next, so as a working professional, you could possibly explore new fields to make a career in. See, it is well known that at some point in your career, you may think something like, I don't think this field is for me, or I would want to switch. And sometimes you just feel like, okay, so I have been into taxation, I've studied taxation, and I've worked in a taxation firm for so many years, but now I am developing an interest in intellectual property rights, or let's say constitutional law. So how can I switch my field? Right? It is an overwhelming decision, and it is also a very important decision, because it could be a make or break. So how do you exactly get comfortable with a new field? The answer is blogging. So when you blog, you could either blog for yourself, you could open your own blog, you could start your own blog, or you could possibly write guest post, or maybe even a part of a blog to regularly keep writing for uh, on the field that you want to dive into. So let's say you are a taxation lawyer, but now you want to jump into intellectual property rights. So you could write uh, you could write you could write a number of blogs, and then it would be easier for you to determine, so is this really my thing? Will I be working into all of that? And is this going to be really interesting? Will I be able to sustain a career in it? So all of that could start from blogging. Okay. And the last one is for everyone. It's the last benefit is it's for working professionals, is for independent advocates and law firms, and it's for students as well. Networking. They say that in any field, networks can take you from zero to hero. And I'm not even exaggerating that. Networking is the I mean, it is now slowly getting noticed by people, that they are realizing how networking is important, and networking starts right from college, from how you make connections with your seniors, how you make connection with your peers, how you make connection with your seniors, and that goes on up till much of your professional life. So blogging is something that, as I my first sentence that I told you all about blogging is that it helps us to connect with like-minded individuals. So what happens is that when you start to blog, people will come and read your blog. If they love it, then they will be like, okay, so this person writes really nice. I mean, they have done some good work. So I resonate with them. So that's why it helps you build a network, and it can take you from zero to hero. Okay. So the next is blog versus article versus a research paper. So now we will be taking a look at all these different types of things and basically see if and how they are different. Okay. So blogs, articles, and research paper. So articles and research papers in this, I'm going to be very briefly going through this section. So articles and research papers are very similar, are kind of similar in all of their basically articulation and their purpose and everything. So what happens is blogs are written in an informal tone, whereas articles and research papers are written in a more formal tone, in a more authoritative tone. Blogs are more of a personal expression. So I mean, I could write my own style of writing. I could put that into a blog, but that is not true for articles and research papers, since I have to follow a specified writing style, which maintains a certain decorum. I mean, you can't get too casual with writing an article or a research paper. So next, the purpose of a blog is to be informational. Like I said, it disseminates information. And for articles and research papers, articles are analytical as well. Apart from being informational, apart from providing you information, they are analytical as well. So let's say for example, a person critically analyzes a new policy of the government. So that could be covered in a blog as well, but people usually, since they have to discuss something in length, they would go for an article. So that's how articles are informational as well as analytical. On the other hand, research papers are not purely informational. So, all the law students, all the law college students, who have been submitting their college assignments thinking it is a research paper, it is not. It is an article, it is not a research paper, because research paper is not purely informative. It needs to have a very good analysis of things, and it also needs to be evaluative, right? Because when it is evaluative, what happens is that you basically take on different things. And sorry, yeah, so basically when it is evaluative, you evaluate a lot of things into you take into question, you take all the small things that have been discussed by researchers in their previous work. So you have to take that and evaluate it. So that's what research papers are. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay. Then the last point regarding difference between blogs, articles, and research paper is that blogging is a continuous process. It keeps on happening. You have to keep undertaking. Like I said, you have to periodically write your blogs. As for articles, they are need based. Okay, so whenever you feel like that this policy has come up, which needs to be told to people, which needs to be critically analyzed, so that is what I mean by need based. So articles and research papers are for that. Research papers are also, more of like, when you feel like this is something that still hasn't been touched upon by a lot of people, so you feel like, okay, so this is worth a discussion, so that is when you write a research paper. But like I said, for blogs, you have to be regular with it. Okay. So then we move on to the next section of our webinar, which is going to be on the essentials of a well-written blog. So this comes under my approach of writing a blog, and I'm going to be I'll be discussing all of the things that I personally take into consideration when I'm writing a blog. Okay. So we already know that the introduction, body, and conclusion of a blog is important, but that is generic, and I'm sure most of you know it already, that an introduction, body, and conclusion is important, but that is also applicable on any writing piece, be it a blog, be it an article, be it a research paper, right? So I'm going to share the few essentials regarding which are specifically regarding blogs, right? So the first and foremost is the title. Now, title has to be something which is very catchy and expressive. You could be as creative as you want with the title, because you have to consider the title as the soul, not exactly basically the soul, but it should be it is the face of your blog. Okay. Basically, whenever somebody wants to get information on something, they are going to do a quick Google search, and they are going to, if they come across your blog, and if the title is boring, they're not going to click on it. And uh, I'm not exaggerating this, but even if you have written the best blog in the whole world, but it is something that does not have a very catchy title or a very good title, then people will not click on it, right? It has to be creative and impressive. Like I said, it has to capture the attention of the reader. So when he is when he's scrolling through all of these long list of blogs and blogs and blogs and articles, what makes your title different, what makes your blog different? It's the title. Yes. Now, the title of your blog can be a clickbait. I mean, I'm not saying that it should be a clickbait, but it should basically have the effect of a clickbait title. I browse a lot of YouTube, and I know whenever I come across a clickbaity title, I know it's a clickbait, still I am tempted to click on it. So that's what you should also do with your blogs, because you have the freedom to pen down the title. You can be, you don't have to make it a clickbait, but you get the idea. It should have the effect of that. Okay. So next point is the length. So what differs a blog from an article and research paper is again the length. Because if people had a lot of time to, gather information about a subject, they would rather go and read an article or a research paper, since they have a lot of time at their disposal. Why would they come to your blog? They would come to your blog in order to get information in an easy manner without spending a lot of time. So, which is why the length of your blog should be approximately 800 to 1500 words. I mean, according to me, that is like the sweet spot. Anything shorter than 800 words, you will not be able to express your expression. You will not be able to express your thoughts clearly. And anything longer than that, people will would rather go read an article or a research paper, right? So it should be just right. Don't stretch it unnecessarily. Okay. The next point: a blog piece should be as simple and straightforward as possible. So the previous point that I made, that if people had a lot of time, that applies here as well. So if you use a lot of jargon, if you use a lot of jargon in your blog, you are throwing all of these legal maxims like Salt Bay, then it's going to be a problem, because then people, they will have to take their they will have to load up Google, and they will have to search for every other word that you use. So that is not something that they want, and that is not something you want, because then they will not come to your blog again. So it should be simple, it should be straightforward, it should convey the message, and it should be information, right? The next point is a flow. So maintain a flow, be coherent. Think of your piece as a flowing river. A flowing river, it just flows. No matter how many rocks or no matter how many things come up in its way, it is always flowing. And that's how your blog should be. My tip here is that the last sentence of a paragraph, it should have some context about what you're going to discuss in the next paragraph. Because when you include that, that what happens is that the reader can establish a connection between all of those things, right? So let's say you're talking about something in one paragraph, and then suddenly out of the blue you talk about something totally different. The reader is going to get lost. They'll not know where they were or where they are now. So which is why a flow is very important. Like if you follow my tip of that last sentence of the paragraph thing, then I'm sure that your blog would be as smooth as a river. Okay. So now I will share a few examples of good titles, and I will also tell you why I think that these are good titles. Okay. So first one is, the title reads, Facebook's massive data breach. Is your data now available on the internet? Why I think this is a good title is because it uses very strong words. Okay, so massive, so whenever some reader comes across this, they would be like, okay, so the volume of the data that has been breached is massive, so it might affect me, it might be of my concern, right? So you put that thought into the reader's mind. Then it proceeds to ask a question, which is your data now available on the internet? So suddenly, when the reader reads this question, suddenly the first thing that comes to their mind is that there's a question, and I need to know the answer of it, because humans are inquisitive beings. When you throw a question in like that, you you get them off guard, and they will be tempted to click on your blog, which is why the first one is a great title. Okay, now we'll come to the next one, which is non-fungible tokens and copyright law. A nifty dilemma. Nothing fancy here. I mean, this title is good because it's straightforward also, right? It's straightforward and it uses a catchy word. I mean, nifty. If I would come across this blog, I would definitely read it, because it straight away tells me what it's going to discuss. It's going to discuss the relationship between NFTs and copyright law, right? So I am like, okay, this concerned me, this is what I want to read. And then it takes something like a nifty dilemma. So dilemma, I mean, I ask myself, what is the dilemma here? Now I'm really excited to know. So that's how you captivate the reader to read your blog. All right, I hope that uh, you would include all of these points in your next blog. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to share the tips and tricks to increase the impact of your blog piece like I promised, and now we are finally here. So fasten your seatbelts because it's going to be interesting. So they say it's all about the little things, and it's true. We can make a huge impact through a blog piece by incorporating small elements, and I'll show you how. So first and foremost, the tip is to use examples, a lot of them. No matter how many examples you include, the reader is going to appreciate it. There can never be too many examples. Because when you give an example, the reader can connect to whatever you have written till now. They gather all that information, and they get to understand what it is about. And an example really helps them to put their understanding into work. So what they have understood from your blog, they'll try and put it into that example to see if they have understood the concept or not, right? So use your examples, use as many examples as you can. It's always a great thing to do. Okay, next is make complicated concepts simple for the reader to understand, and they will love your work. Like I said before, if you can explain a topic to someone in an easy manner, then it means that you know how to do it, right? So let's say you're discussing a very complicated concept. So I remember I wrote a blog piece on blockchain and copyright law. So blockchain is something that people are interested to know about, but they don't actually know how it goes like. So I actually have done a course on blockchain. So I was reading all of that. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, there was a network issue there. Okay. Yeah. So I was saying that, yeah. So I was in one blog, I was discussing the relationship between blockchain and copyright law. So basically, blockchain is something that people are interested to know about, but they find it very difficult to comprehend what the meaning is. So I have done a course on blockchain, and I thoroughly understood what it is all about. So I very simply explained it to the reader, and a lot of people told me that your blog really helped me to understand what it is.
Sorry to interrupt, Surbhit.
Yeah.
Actually, presentation is not visible.
Okay. Why does it keep going away all the time? Yeah. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, it is visible now.
Now is the PPT visible?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, just keep telling me that because I have no clue
Yeah.
to how to. All right. Okay. So I was there. So I was telling that my blog piece, many people came up and told me that, uh, I have never understood blockchain so simply. So thank you for that. And I felt really good about it, so that I could make a complicated concept simple to understand. So that is what you should do in your blog. Since you have the, you have the freedom to use informal, flowery, and all of those words. So you could possibly make it simple for your reader to understand. Next is suggest further readings play the role of a guide. So whenever you finish your blog, you can always, suggest further readings to the reader. So what happens is that if they want more information, not only do they get information from your blog, but they also get information, they get leads as to where they could find more information. So that is always great to do. The next one is present an unbiased report by discussing both sides of the situation. So, as lawyers, we are taught to minimize our liability, and we can't be directly advertising or advising clients. And if someone takes our advice, if we present it like advice and someone takes it, then we might get into trouble. So, which is why, and also as lawyers, since we are torch bearers of justice and equity, so we need to present both the sides of the situation to the reader, because what happens is then you leave it on the reader to understand what they make out of it. They may make an opinion, or they may support one point, they may disagree the other point, or vice versa, something like that. So as a blogger, it is your duty to present an unbiased report, because when you do that, what happens is that people will get a comprehensive overview of the whole situation. Okay, the next one. So this one is particularly interesting, because you can't do this in an article or a research paper. So if you use pictures, flowcharts, diagrams, it enhances the visual appeal of your work. I include a lot of pictures, as many as I can, into my blog. Some one I remember one time I wrote a blog on Star Wars and the relation to and its relation to trademark. So I included at least 5 or 6 pictures. The thing is that that wasn't approved by that blog, so they removed it. So they just kept only one picture that they found appropriate. Otherwise, I definitely put a lot of pictures into it. When you put a lot of pictures, it enhances the visual appeal, and graphic elements also keep things interesting. We all know that there is a child inside of us, and as children, all we always used to say that I want a book that has pictures, right? We couldn't read any book that did not have pictures. So you could follow a similar approach for your blog as well. Use flowcharts if you want to explain relationship, use diagram if you want to explain a complicated concept, and use pictures to just keep the reader interested. All right. So one thing that I would also want to discuss is that in blogs you can have informal discussions as much as you like. Okay, so since you're not required to maintain a very formal tone in your whatever you're discussing, you could possibly use you could talk in the you could talk in the first person, so you could refer to yourself and you could refer to the reader as you. Okay, and that what that does is it establishes a conversation. It is like a conversation through a paper. So when you use I or you, which you can't use in a research paper or an article generally, is you establish a connection with the reader. So take for example the first one. In this, the author has said, why I continue to gaze at this dispute is not due to my impatience for wanting to witness the end of a long awaited decision on plant variety versus patent. So this, whenever you come across this, like you resonate to it, I mean, you connect to it as a reader. And which is why I think that this is something you can only do in a blog, and which is also very important to do in a blog to keep the reader interested and to keep things easy, right? In the next one, this is an excerpt from my own blog, and in this one I was supposed to elaborate on the concept of an anti-suit injunction, which is a complicated concept. So I was like, I can't explain this using words, why don't I explain it using a movie reference? So I used the reference of Captain America's shield, right? I said that let's just throw it in. And I received a lot of appreciation for this, because a lot of people told me that it made things so easy to understand, and like it just cleared the air for them. So that is what also you can do in your blog, which you can't do in an article or a research paper, right? So take these tips. So this is the last section of today's webinar, and in this I am going to tell you about the things that you should avoid in legal blogs, specifically legal blog. Okay, so till now we have discussed the positive actions. I told you about everything that you should include in order to make your blogs better, but there are always another side in which you could possibly eliminate or refrain from doing certain things that would enhance the impact of your blog. So the first and foremost thing is, please refrain from being strongly opinionated. I have repeated this point quite a lot of times, that you have to present an unbiased opinion uh, to the reader. You can't be strongly opinionated. Now, by strongly opinionated, I don't mean that you can't have an opinion on. You should have an opinion, right? But you should express in a neutral manner. You can't be too strongly worded as to one thing and totally disregard or totally shun the other thing, because pros and cons are everywhere. So when you are very strongly opinionated, it becomes a problem, because you are only giving one side of the perspective to the person who is reading your blog. So please refrain from it. Even in all of the legal, in all of the writing pieces that you can found in the that you can find in the legal field, are usually not very strongly opinionated unless and until they are analyzing some policy or some court decision. Even then, they are very neutral in their expression and they are very neutral in their criticism. They are never straightforwardly rude. So that is something you should never do. Okay. The next one is pretty straightforward. Don't copy writings of other people if you want to use them. Give proper credit always. If you are using the idea that was propagated by someone else, that was thought of by someone else, you should always include a source to it. Okay, because what happens is, I have come across, this has happened to me many times. I was looking for something, and 2 and 3 sites had the same thing. They had the same article, literally not even one word was different from uh, each other. It was 100% copy, and you can never determine who did it first, right? So that is very important. So since in blogging you can be informal, you can be casual, there is no as such uh, requirement of footnoting or quoting your sources. But that does not mean that you exploit the loophole and copy others people's work, because that just reduces your integrity. So in case you are using the idea of someone else, always give proper credit to them. Okay. The next thing is, don't be inconsistent. Pen down at least one piece a month.
So this again,
Yeah.
presentation is not visible.
Okay. Yes. Now is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So I was on the third point, which is don't be inconsistent. Pen down at least one piece a month, right? So as I said before, the heart and soul of blogging is that you should periodically update it. You should write it regularly, because when you write it regularly, what happens is that it not only benefits you, but it also benefits your audience as well. Some people are really excited for a blog to come up. So if you write really well blogs and you are well known, people would want to hear from you generally. And for this, it's not like you could only write on your own blog. If you can write on different blogs, you can write on different mediums. Like LinkedIn also has a feature in which you could write down an article itself and publish it there. So that is one thing. So if you become inconsistent, you will lose traction. I will use a personal example here. So I am a photographer. I mean, I had a nice, engaging Instagram page, but as soon as I stopped being regular with it, people just left it. People weren't interested in my new pictures anymore. And that is true as regards to all of the content that we in the new age are creating. We have to be regular with it. If we are not regular, we will lose the engagement, and slowly all of the efforts, they will just drown. They will be nowhere to be found. So this is also important, right? So the last one is, like I say, this is also a life advice. You could take that as a parting note. So never give up. Okay. Like I said, blogging has a deeper motive. It may, for some people, it has a personal motive. And people get really disheartened if they don't find much engagement from their posts. Or when, people aren't commenting on their posts, people aren't reacting, people aren't sharing, or people aren't talking about your work. People get disheartened, and it's true. It's normal to get disheartened, but it's never okay to give up. Because if you have a motive of getting well known in the field, getting well known in the industry, getting well known by a lot of people, getting recognized by firms, by your peers, by your superiors, juniors, everyone, if you give up, all of that effort that you have put in regularly, constantly, that will just drown, which should never be done. So if you aren't seeing your results, never quit, don't give up, just keep doing it, right? So that's all I want to say. So thank you so much for your patience. I hope that this presentation till here was quite insightful, and I'm sorry for all the technical glitches that were happening. Thank you to Manya for pointing that out. So right now is the question time. So I'll be taking all of these questions. Where can I see them? Are there any questions? So no questions till yet. If someone wants to put up a question, they are welcome here. Please put in your question in the questions tab. I'll be waiting for your response. So KG has asked, how should we brief case laws in blog? So like I said, all the informal approach has still to be, it should still be followed throughout, even if you are writing a case brief, right? So what you can possibly do is, if you should ideally read the whole case first, right? You should read the case from top to bottom, its background, if there are any consequences in the real world. You should ideally analyze all of that, and you should put it in a simple format, in a manner that is limited. You don't have to be very detailed with it. You just have to take up the very crucial, very most important points of it. You have to put it in your style of expression, like I said, which is the right way to put a case law in your blog.
So we have one question in chat box. How to select topic for blog?
Okay, so basically, a topic is something that you should give a lot of thought to, because when you have a topic, right? When you have a topic, that is how you will determine what the structure and how you're going to speak about things. So there is no hard and fast rule as to how to choose a topic, but the first thing that is there is that it should be on something that interests you, that is in your interest, that excites you. Because in order to write a blog, you have to collect a lot of information from various different sources, and if it's something that you don't enjoy reading or you don't enjoy going through, then it's going to be a problem, which is not what I recommend. So first of all, it should be something that you are interested to talk about, to read about, right? And it could also be something about that you feel is important to discuss. So like recently, I was browsing, like quite few days or weeks ago, there was something on LinkedIn in which many people had, many students, many female interns had come forward and expressed their opinions regarding how they were harassed at these firms and all of that thing. So if you think that this is something which is important, which I should voice an opinion on, then that should be a topic of your blog, right? You could connect it to the law, and that's how you present it. So two things are most important here. First is it should be interesting, and the second thing is that it's something that you resonate with, or you feel that it's important to talk about.
So our next question is how to give credits in blogs. Is there any particular style to be followed?
So there is no particular style as such that should be followed to give credit in a blog, but you can take into consideration the various formats of citations. Like there is APA, there is MLA, but in the legal field, the Blue Book citation is followed generally. APA and MLA and Chicago citations are for various different fields like managerial and all of that. But you can write, but you can use that particular style. But I would recommend that Blue Book citation is good, because it resonates to the, because it is connected to the legal field, and it also has, it has rules for citing case laws, and it has rules for citing articles, for journal articles, which in a legal blog are very important sources, right? You can't cite a case law under the MLA or APA citation. So for that you should use the blue book. The only thing is that you should be consistent with it. I mean, one in the first one, if you give APA cite, if you use the APA for form of citation, then all of those should be in the APA citation. It shouldn't be like one is APA, one is MLA, one is blue. That shouldn't happen.
So the last question of the session is asked by KG. What should I do when I find someone else has written a blog on the topic I have selected?
So this is the beauty of a blog. Beauty of the blog is that it is your personal expression. Even if someone has written a blog on the same topic that you are thinking of writing on, you have a different perspective. You have a different style of expression, and you may even write it better than them. You know, the thing that someone has already written on this topic is a consideration that comes when you're writing an article or a research paper, because if someone has already written a research paper on the exact same thing that you're going to research upon, then that makes no sense, right? But for blogs, that is very different, because a blog has a personal touch to it, and people would love to read your blog that way.
So I think we are done with the questions for in today's session. Let's move to the conclusion of the session. To conclude this session, I would like to thank everyone for this wonderful and informative session. It was a delight to have you with us today. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Surbhit Shrivastava for giving us his precious time and wonderful presentation. We could not have had a better speaker and a trainer for the workshop. Thank you so much. Uh, Now, I would like
Yes.
to thank the IP Press for this wonderful opportunity, and lastly, to all the attendees for making this fun and interactive session. Thank you.
So I have put my email in the chat box. If there are any questions, or if you just want to connect with me, you could connect with me on LinkedIn. You could drop me a mail on the email ID I'm putting. I'm also putting my number just in case if you want to have a chit chat about this session, or you want to give me a review as to how can I deliver a better presentation next time. Okay, so I'm also putting my number. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the attendees, and thank you to the IP Press for giving me this opportunity. I hope that you guys got that you got useful insights, and I hope that your time was well spent. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.